doggy stands by me.
So our manager at the time came to me and said, could you guys write a Christmas song? It would be great for licensing opportunities. There's not enough original new Christmas tunes out there. So like any song Lee and I came across, let's write a Christmas tune. It was easy once we knew what we were writing about. So the next day we wrote a song called Christmas Tree. And then she heard it, we demoed it for her as far as that goes, just played it. And she's like, I love it. I'm gonna get one of my producer friends from over at Fox, she worked at Fox Television, who's one of the sound guys there. And his name was Jim Mitchell. And he has quite a resume himself as far as that goes. That's a whole nother story. But anyways, he came on board and said, I will produce this song. I don't have my own studio, but there's a few studios that I work at, and I've got this one guy that has a studio in his basement, and I'd like you to meet him, and maybe if he likes you, we could record the tune there and get it done. So we get an address to meet this guy the next day, kind of a meet and greet. Lee and I went out there, and it was in Beverly Hills. He didn't tell us who it was. He just said, be at this address, be there at like 7:30. Okay. So we roll out there for 7:30, we pull up and park on the street. I remember thinking, that's a nice house. Like, whoever lives here, this is great. We buzzed in, the gate opened, we walked in, the door, we knocked on the door, and like a maid opened it up for us, this woman. So we walked into the house, we walked down this corridor, and, you know, looking around thinking, oh, this is great. We walked down these back stairs into a really cool home studio, warm, just had a great vibe to it. And I remember thinking, this is cool. I would like to record a tune here for sure. And Jim was already there, and there was another guy, JD, at the board, kind of the guy's right-hand man as far as that goes. And we still didn't even know whose house it was, and in walks Billy Bob Thornton, the actor. And so that was a treat in itself. Well, we kind of, you know, it's all about meet and greet, kind of sitting there, and we're just talking and hanging out. And I didn't realize Billy was a musician and had his own band and played the drums and sang. And quite frankly, after I got to know him, he's more of a musician than he is an actor. And he's just one of those guys you meet that's just talented, creative. It was very exciting. Every session, I did like 8 sessions at his house. But this was the first session, and so we went in the studio, and at one point he's finally like, play me the tune. So we sit down, we wire up, 2-click track, we played it acoustically and vocals, nailed it. Remember Billy liked it, and goes, play it again. So we did it again, nailed it, and I felt good about that, being put on the spot like that, but it was solid. And so we had a good time. We left, and it was kind of left open like that. Well, we'll talk about it, we'll see what happens. The next day I get a call from Jim, who says, yeah, Billy called me and he wants to talk to you. And I said, well, let me call Lee. He goes, no, he just wants to talk to you. I don't know if this is gonna happen at his studio, but he wanted you to go meet him and down to his house. Because I'm thinking, well, if it's not gonna happen, why don't I just call him? Anyways, I ended up driving into Beverly Hills from Simi Valley, where I was living. And I let Lee know what was going on as far as that goes. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think he's gonna tell me, thanks, but no thanks. You guys are great, but don't worry about it. And Jim was like, we got other studios we can go to. This was the first option. So I get in there, and Billy opened the door for me, and he brings me in. He's got a little bit of a concerned look on his face. I could tell he wanted to tell me, but I'm thinking, you know, it's all good either way. You know, this is great. Don't worry about it. He takes me downstairs, and he's like, at that point, he's like, you know, after you left, I really liked the tune. I'm like, well, that's cool, you know. And he goes, I ended up doing a drum track, and I had JD do a bass track, then I put some tambourine, and I sang backing vocals, and I don't want you to think I'm imposing, but I want you to at least hear it, and if there's anything you like, maybe you can keep it, and if you don't like it, we can scrap it, but you can do the tune here, it's all good. Well, that floored me, the fact that we could do the tune there, because I was thinking we weren't gonna do the tune there. And the fact that he even played on it, I'm like, dang. So I sat back and they queued it up and played it, and I was immediately just, wow. It took it to a different level that I didn't think was even possible. I just remember really liking what I heard. Very excited and was like giddy like a kid going, dude, this is it, don't change a thing. And the drum tracks and the bass and the backing vocals and the tambourine, what you hear on the song Christmas Tree today is what he laid down. And then we brought in Lee, we did a bunch of other sessions, B3 session with a guy named Teddy. And Jim, the backdrop to him, he'd come up from Boston in '86 to work with this guy in his first project. And he showed up at the studio. I'm diverting a little bit here. But he was telling me his story, and he goes, you know, the first band I worked with, the guy tells me, the producer goes, yeah, they're this band from LA, they just got a record deal, and they're coming in today, and we're going to cut their record. And that was his first project to move into LA, and that record was Appetite for Destruction. The band was Guns N' Roses, and he ended up being one of their main guys. So it was fun working with him and getting to know him as a person, a friend of mine to this day. Another song we had written off of One Diamond was Time's Been Changing. And we get a call one day to meet a woman, a music supervisor, at a restaurant in Beverly Hills. Lee and I roll down there. She's sitting there at the table. We walk in, preliminaries. Lee and I order some food. We tell the girl, hey, we're gonna, whatever you want. She's like, well, I gotta go sign here, sign there. We kind of don't even know what we're signing. And that was it. The food came, she left, and we're thinking, what just happened? Ultimately, that song ended up on a TV show on NBC called My Name is Earl. And we probably saw more royalty money because of that one song than I've seen in my entire music career to this date. But I remember how quickly it went down. It was so nonchalant, and it's funny, in this industry, you can do everything to try and make something happen, and nothing can happen. And sometimes you can sit down at a table, throw your signature down on something, and everything can happen. And it happens just so anticlimactically. It was incredible. But when I think about that song and how it ended up on the TV show, it always cracks me up. And through the Fox connections, I get a call from our manager, and this is another licensing story that she said, the Super Bowl's on tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. She goes, I think they're gonna play one of your songs throughout the telecast. And I was thinking, are you kidding me? The Super Bowl, I love football, to have one of our songs on the Super Bowl telecast. So I got myself a cooler. I sat there, I watched all the pregame, for 3 hours prior to the show, the whole first quarter. Finally, towards the end of the second quarter, Stand Up, one of our songs came on. Boom. Of course, I had finally gone to the bathroom, and I hear my wife at the time, Todd, it's on. So I didn't even really hear it, which was the crazy. I heard the tail end of it, but I remember coming down going, my God, they played our song on the telecast. And then they did the halftime show, and then they played another one of our songs in the third quarter, another one of our songs in the fourth quarter. By that point, it was the greatest football game I've ever watched. And you can only imagine as a songwriter when you're hearing your song coming out of the screen like that, out of the TV. It was a great, exciting moment as far as that goes, and something I'll never forget. Another song we had licensed was King. And that licensing came about through NASCAR. And we get a call through the Fox affiliation that we had at the time. And Lee and I go down to the studios, I think it was in Culver City. And we're sitting there, and they're like, we want to use your song King as the theme song for one of our shows after the NASCAR races on Victory Lane, is what the show was called. And it was like the wrap-up show of the NASCAR races for each season. So we're like, this is great. Well, the next thing I know, I'm on the phone with the president of NASCAR, and he's telling me, we want to use the song, but can you change the lyrics a little bit? And I'm thinking, oh no, here we go. And he goes, we got this driver named Richard Petty, and everyone refers to him as the King. And so if we use this song, people are gonna think it's his theme song, but we want it to embody all the drivers. Can you change it to I Am the Man? And they had written down a number saying this is what we want to pay you for the usage of this song, plus royalties at the time. And I remember thinking, if you want it to be called I Am the Man, we'll do an alternative vocal version for you called I Am the Man. So this guy brainstorms with lyrics. I go into the studio, redo a vocal cut for them, which is called I Am the Man. And for the next 3 years, we had the theme song for Victory Lane. And we ended up shooting a video down at Irwindale. I think it was one of the races, VIP passes to meet the drivers. And I remember, as far as stages went, that was the hottest stage I've ever been on. I think it was like 125 degrees with the lights. I think our bass player, Ryan, even passed out at one point in the shooting of the video for the segment for I Am the Man. But anyways, when I think of that, I think of how hot it was that day that we were down there. And nevertheless, good times. And the power of licensing is what I realized. The publishing of songs, that was always exciting to me. And I realized that's the reason I got into it. There's nothing like making money while you're sitting on the couch watching a football game. To me, that was magical. And as any songwriter would say, more of that, please.
Sit on my porch, dusty day. Me and my dog, he stands by